illustrators will sometimes carve, ink, and scratch their way to art. You'll experience this if you've ever opened a picture book and immediately felt like it was made in another century, like someone hand-carved each page, dipped it in ink, and lovingly pressed it onto paper just for you. Or maybe you flipped through a book and thought, did this illustrator just scratch away at a solid block of black until an image appeared? Well, yeah, that's actually exactly what happened. Hey everyone, I'm Nick. This is DrCrankyPantsReads, and today we're talking about printing and scratchboard in picture books, because sometimes illustrators just don't paint their images. They literally carve them into existence. And the result? Some of the boldest, most striking, ridiculously detailed illustrations you've ever seen. Let's get into it. Well, let's start with what even is printmaking. Printmaking is basically stamping, but make it art. Instead of drawing with a pencil or painting with a brush, printmakers, 1, carve an image onto a surface, whether that's wood, linoleum, metal, or sometimes even rubber. And then 2, they roll ink onto the raised parts of the surface, the parts that weren't carved away, before they, 3, press the image onto paper, creating a print of the original carving. If you've ever made a potato stamp, that's kind of the same philosophy. It's a process that takes skill, patience, and probably a few moments of screaming into the void when the ink doesn't transfer correctly. When we're talking about spotting printmaking in picture books, there's a couple of things that you can do. But let's look at The Haunted House by Kazuno Kahara. This book uses relief printing, resulting in a really high contrast, bold, and graphic look. Kahara's limited color palette, just black, white, and orange, really makes every detail pop. Now, taking what we've learned from this image, you want to ask yourself, does the book have bold, solid areas of ink with carved out lines? Then chances are good that it's probably printmaking. Do the edges of the ink look slightly uneven, like they were pressed into the page? Then it's definitely printmaking. Does it feel like someone meticulously carved a block, inked it, and then crossed their fingers while pressing it onto paper? 100% printmaking. Illustrators love printmaking for the high contrast, visually striking images that it produces, while giving books a timeless, handcrafted feel. This is an art form that's really perfect for folk tales, historical stories, and books that need a little dramatic flair. So if a book feels graphic, bold, and a little bit like it should be framed in a museum, you're probably looking at printmaking. So now let's shift to scratchboard, which is really the reverse art of scraping away the darkness. If printmaking is all about stamping ink onto a page, scratchboard is about doing the exact opposite, starting with a completely black surface and scratching away at it to reveal the lighter color underneath. Basically, the illustrator is drawing by removing darkness, which is either artistic genius or a deep metaphor for life, depending on how dramatic you want to be, of course. Let's look at an example. This is The House in the Night by Bat Cromes. Cromes' illustrations are so detailed you can see the individual scratches that create the highlights and the textures. Instead of adding light to the page, she's removing darkness to reveal the image. When you're looking to spot scratchboard in a picture book, some things you're going to want to ask yourself include, does the book look like an old school engraving or etching? Chances are it's scratchboard. Are the highlights created by removing black rather than adding white? Again, scratchboard. And if you find yourself wondering if the illustrator has the patience of a saint, almost definitely scratchboard. Now, illustrators love scratchboard for insanely intricate details. Remember that with printmaking, you got a lot of bold blocks of color. Here you're getting a lot of intricate detail. and it creates a striking high contrast look that's perfect for nighttime scenes or mysterious, dramatic books. There's something about Scratchboard that feels vintage and timeless, like something out of an old-time storybook. If a book feels like it was engraved by a master artist who has more patience than you will ever have, Scratchboard is potentially at work. Now, let's come back to printmaking versus Scratchboard. I hinted at some of the differences, but let's really unpack that. Because both techniques, they involve a lot of carving and a deep commitment to the bit, but there are some key differences. When you're looking at something that's been made through printmaking, look for bold, solid shapes and carved out textures. It's ink being added to a surface. Versus Scratchboard, you're going to be looking for fine, intricate lines, revealing a lighter surface underneath. It's ink being removed. If the images feel stamped and graphic, printmaking. If they feel engraved and ultra detailed, it's Scratchboard. Either way, you're looking at an art form that takes more patience and precision than most of us will ever have. What's next? So we've covered printmaking and Scratchboard, but what if illustrators don't just carve their way to greatness? But what if they cut, paste, and layer instead? That's right. Up next, we're talking collage and mixed media, where illustrators grab scissors, glue, and every material they can get their hands on to create some of the most playful, textured, and interactive picture books available. So stay tuned, and in the meantime, let's talk. What's a picture book where the printmaking or Scratchboard illustrations completely changed the way that you understood a story? Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one.